Clark at 1040. We're going to go out and talk to our buddy down in Florida, out in the Panhandle of Florida. Good morning, Kev. What's up?
Hey, you know the place, man. Come on over.
Most comfortable bed I slept in next to mine in a long, long time, baby.
Yeah, well, let me tell you what. My workbench is a lot firmer than that one. I hate that mattress.
How's everything? What's up?
We're doing good, and LJ really appreciates everything, when you mention her and everything. So I just want to shout out to Greg and tell him that we both feel his pain. And, we'll pray for healing there with his son, and ultimately Christ will heal him one way or the other.
Yeah, so. Yeah, and that's but still, I mean, having to go through that with your kids, I hope to God I never
So Curt, the Hollywood culture is responsible for the drug epidemic in America.
Wow.
Putting people up on the screen, living a lifestyle, and then people go about their daily lives trying to emulate that. And they did it to a whole generation. I mean, and then they whaled them with MTV,
Yeah, well,
and actually, it was the same people from Hollywood doing the whaling.
If you remember, I don't know if you ever saw the movie Boogie Nights about the porn industry. And one of the things that it was a mainstream movie about the porn industry, and one of the things that they came across trying to explain the porn industry was that most of the people on the set have to be drunk or on drugs to do what they do. I'm not getting a different feeling about actually just normal Hollywood either.
Well, the out in California, that LSD, that wasn't, that became a Hollywood drug in the early '60s. The cops, didn't know what these people were high on at the time when they would arrest them. But that was actually introduced by the Central Intelligence Agency, and they actually did their work up there around San Francisco, which is why San Francisco became what it did. But Curt, you remember, wasn't there a World Series? Was it Oakland in the '90s, and there was a big earthquake?
Yeah, Oakland, San Francisco.
Yeah, and it devastated the porn industry.
Really?
Yeah, it shut them down for a little while. They had to find their way again.
Yeah.
So, but
and unfortunately,
God is, He has a way, and here we are in America, people up in those hotels just riding those rollers and everything,
Yeah.
and the buildings didn't fall down, but the highways collapsed and everything like that at a fairly high death toll, I'm sure.
How big is this Hollywood thing? Is it?
Oh, Hollywood's a real rotten thing, and you have to realize that during World War II, it was an apple, and everybody saw the power of it. They noticed that Hitler had power and propaganda, and they just loved how he could control the crowd with his psychology and everything. So
your better half.
Yeah, what's that?
Your better half just said something on live stream that's so true. Hollywood has demonized virginity and normalized perversion.
Right. And, when we have 60 million people aborted in our country since 1973, and you add 2 million to that in California that had that law for 2 years, only in the event that the mother's life was in danger, there was 2 million of them in 2 years. And and that was signed by Ronald Reagan. Ronald Reagan was actually prompted to sign gun legislation because in Oakland, where that earthquake happened, prior to that, the Black Panthers were walking the streets with shotguns. Well, really, that was their right in America, if they wanted to let the Black Panthers have that place, they should have done that, just to see what it was instead of signing gun legislation. But see, this is how the left will open doors. Now they're using the Muslims in the same way, and if they want to have the same game plan that gets run, this is all an intelligence operation, and people need to realize that if they let these people keep running, they're going to realize they're running out of room and they're going to get desperate. And so, therefore, when you talk, you're just giving them more time.
Yeah. No, I mean it's And again, the Kevin's blog, both he and his wife LJ are you got to check it out. It's called barefootcavalry.com. And anything you want
I'm
to
writing
question.
one right now, Curt. It's pretty hard, because it starts out with radio waves, and like it ends up in gamma rays.
Well, and that's you end up losing people because you.
I'm not a nuclear physicist, Curt. I dropped out of high school before I finished 10th grade and went in the Marine Corps.
Right.
This is all self-education here, brother. And, I used to hang out in the summers at the University of Pennsylvania and read engineering books and publications and stuff like that. And, I realized in the 1960s they were talking about putting rail guns on asteroids so that they could move them with the pieces of the asteroid itself, mine it, load it, and jettison it with electromagnetic energy and push this thing out of a threatening orbit. But anyway, the thing that's happened is they didn't want that railgun to go anywhere but on a platform, and they want to chunk stuff. So right now, that's going to be the new buildup, stuff like that. And, we need armies, yes, but the fact is, Curt, that over in Havana points to the thing that could just dissipate the whole army is a sound wave or a light wave. I mean, they have allowed us to come to this most dangerous time, and a lot of people are going to die, bud.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's the discussion.
See, we're chasing the fucks in Hollywood right now, and everybody knew they were fucks from the beginning. Yeah. And there's a lot of dope out there, Curt. That's where LSD got its big old push into the American mainstream, and it just went from there. Charlie Manson, he used to cook MDA for his family because it was easier to make than anything else. And what's the drug that they use today was Charlie Manson's drug, is MMDA, and most of it probably is just MDA, which is, that was a drug the Central Intelligence Agency was using a long time ago. And let me tell you something, Curt. I feel sorry for Greg's son, but from my past experience in the military, the government's got the best dope.
And how would you know that?
That's who's running it.
And you would know that how?
How would I know that?
Yeah.
Well, you want me to go out here on a limb, Curt?
Hey, listen, I know you. I feel like you live life on the limb. So go ahead, go for it.
Okay, dude. All right. So, being MK Ultra and tortured, and then I went over into the Mediterranean, and we pulled into Monaco, which Princess Grace from Philadelphia, the area I was from, was married to Prince Rainier. And when I went there, the guys that I went on leave with disappeared. We went down to Nice from Monte Carlo. When we got back, I kind of got separated from them. We got left off at a cab in front of the casino at Monte Carlo, and Aristotle Onassis, who I've got a strong inclination is the one who actually came up with the money that the intelligence operators used to kill our president in 1963, and his brother in 1968. And, of course, you know who he married later on. But when we came back to the ship that day, you'll find out that the USS Raleigh, the captain's gig, if you look in its history, had to be worked on. It said that it had structural damage. Well, it happened at Fleet Landing in Monte Carlo because captain's gig pulled up, and the sailors said, "No, you can't go on this. This is a captain's gig." And the Marines loaded it till about swamped in the water. So this is the day that this happened. And the guys that I was with, they never come back to ship. I don't know what happened to them. I don't really remember what happened in Nice. I just know that when we got dropped off at the casino in Monte Carlo, Aristotle Onassis walked so close to me I could have took a step and touched him, and looked at me as he went into the casino. So when I got to Athens, Greece, Naval Intelligence pulled me off the ship. And I went there and ended up in front of a man that was, his name was S. Herman Horton. And he actually wrote the counterintelligence warfare manual for the CIA when it was formed in 47. And I found that out because I ended up married to his daughter 15 years after I was standing in front of his desk in Athens, Greece, when he was supposed to be naval intelligence. I married his daughter in Florida. And
really?
So, like, I looked in this guy's face, and I said, man, you're too old to be. I'm, like, 18 years old. You know, I'm a Lance Corporal by then. And I looked at this guy. I said to myself, man, you're way too old to be naval intelligence, man. And I mean, we had guys 27 years old. They were old men to us. But anyway, whatever he did to me, they couldn't undo. Whatever they had me do down in Nice could not be undone. And so they started pumping me full of drugs. They made sure I had plenty.
Really?
You know, it was kind of self-inflicted, but they couldn't get me out. And like I told you, you know, like General Cartwright, even after I broke the Provost Marshal's jaw in Cherry Point in 1974, General Cartwright still tried to get me to stay in the Marine Corps. He was a captain then. And, you know, I was privileged to see a lot of good people when I was in there. But it's the people above that pervert them. You know, like Ali was he followed what he thought was right. And, you know, General Mattis, I'm sorry to say, is a globalist today. You know, and you know, General Cartwright. I mean, I've even met his son. His son's an F-35.
I apologize. I'm up against it, but I always, these stories don't get old to listen to them. Just some of this, because the details are, and again, guys, barefootcavalry.com is Kevin's blog, and if you want to fact check anything he just said, please do, because you'll come back shaking your head at the fact that none of the facts he just, or none of the things he just laid in front of you is actually false. We're going to take a short break. Kevin, always a pleasure. Tell LJ I said hello. Take a short break. We're on the other side.